morning, everybody. Big part of my practice has to do with DNA. In murder cases, rape cases, any sort of violent crime, there is usually DNA left by the suspect. And that DNA ends up being analyzed by the crime lab and reanalyzed by defense criminalists. So what is DNI? Deoxyribonucleic acid. DNA is an analysis is a process by which characteristics of a suspect's genetic structure are identified, compared with samples taken from a crime scene, and if a match, subjected to statistical analysis to determine the frequency with which the characteristics occur in the general population. What that means is that a piece of DNA that's found at a crime scene will be analyzed, it'll be typed, and then the authorities will look for a match. So what a criminalist, what a scientist will look for, this is a double helix. This is sort of what DNA looks like. Now this is important because when a criminalist, when a scientist is looking for DNA, what they will do is go to maybe 10 different spots on this double helix and analyze the amount of DNA there. And that will give them the DNA of the suspect. Now the DNA is unique to every human being in the world. Everybody has their own DNA, except there's one exception. What is that exception?
Identical.
Close. Identical twins. Identical twins have the exact same DNA. So, a criminal technician who comes to the crime scene, what do? They look for objects that can, where there's a likelihood of DNA. So condoms, soda cans, cigarette butts, clothing, weapons, underwear, sheets, pillowcases, postage stamps, and hair. They will collect that evidence very carefully with gloves so that not to infect it, not to ruin anything, package it up, take it back to the crime lab. What are they looking for on those objects? They're looking for blood, semen, skin, saliva, perspiration, and hair. All of these, every cell in your body has DNA that you can look for, except for red blood cells. Not blood, but red blood cells do not have any DNA. The criminals would take the DNA back, they will type it, and they will go to those 10 spots on the double helix, and they will measure the DNA there. And then they will attribute that measurement to a number. Now, in every one of those 10 spots, there will be 2 pieces of DNA. Why is that? From the mother and the father. All our DNA, you get one contribution from the mother, one contribution from the father. And it comes together, and that is the DNA. So, this is the actual DNA type of a case that I'm handling actually right now. It's a home invasion robbery. So you see, in each part of the double helix, the criminalist has found, put a number here, 14, 16, 14, 18, and that is the amount of DNA that is found at that particular spot. And the first one is for the father, and the second one is for the mother. Now, so the criminalist goes, they collect DNA at the scene, they type it, now they have those numbers right here. Well, so what? How do they attribute, how do they find the actual suspect just with these numbers? Well, there's a couple ways. So possibly they have a suspect in mind. Possibly somebody saw somebody leave the scene of a crime with blood on their shirt, and so they will have a suspect in mind. The detectives will get a search warrant for that suspect's body. A detective will go to that suspect and say, we have a search warrant for your body, you are ordered to give us a saliva sample, and then they will type that saliva sample and see if there's a match. If they strike out there, there's a California database. Anybody that's convicted of a felony or a particular misdemeanor, they have to give a DNA sample, and the authorities can run that DNA that they got from the crime scene in that database to see if there's any matches there. At the very end of the road, when we're in court, the judge still has to know that this DNA is actually reliable enough to put in front of a jury. So the criminalist has to come up with an actual number. The judge asks the criminalist, well, what is the likelihood of a random person having this exact DNA that you found at the crime scene? And the criminalist will come up with a number. I've seen numbers like 1 in 4 trillion. So that means that that number that they found is pretty solid. Sometimes it's 1 in 800. That means that that the typing that they found at the crime scene is not so reliable, and maybe it's not going to go in front of the jury. So that's my presentation. Are there any questions? Yes, Ron.
Some of these very old cases where you have evidence that might be 10, 15 years old,
Cold cases.
how reliable is some of the evidence that old? Does it make a difference?
Old DNA can sometimes become decayed and is less reliable, but not always. Hair samples, in a coffin will last quite a long time, and the bones have DNA in there, so it all depends, but it can be very, very reliable. Yes, Mike?
If it's only 1 in 800, is that a better, it would be a better case to use a defense attorney, and can that actually be, can it be proven that the suspect, your client, is not guilty?
Exactly. If it's 1 in 800, then my argument is going to be, you know what, there may be some other people in the world that have this type of DNA or very similar to it. So this type of evidence cannot come in front of the jury because it is not reliable enough.